flour, 20 pounds weighed out. Next, we're gonna get our ice water. Using this 8-quart container, as you see, just like we did with that metal bowl, we're gonna tear it out to 0. All right, for the 20-pound batch recipe, it calls for roughly 5 pounds of water, 6.5 pounds of ice. What we're looking for is a total of 11.5 pounds of ice water. The ice is important because as that mixer is mixing, it's going to create friction. Friction causes heat. We want to keep that heat to a minimum, but the ice will eventually melt out. Conveniently located next to the ice is a nice cold water fountain. So we're gonna start with that and see where we weigh in at. Let's see where we're at. So we have that scale zeroed out from the empty plastic container. And right at 11 pounds. So we're a little under. We just need water. Grab a little here, and we're just going to add to it until we get to that 11 pounds, 8 ounces, or 11.5 pounds. All right, we got our 11.5. We're going to put that aside with our flour and start measuring out oil, salt, and yeast. Now we're going to measure the blend oil. We need 1 pound. Should be just over 2 cups. So 2 1/4. All right, if the machine is off and you put the container on before, it will automatically tear. So we're going to go with salt. We need 8 ounces. All right, if the unit is already on and you don't, simply place it on, weighs, and you're going to hit the tear button. It says on, off, tear, and that will zero it out. So you're ready to weigh your next ingredient. Here we have fresh compact yeast, and we are going to weigh out 3 ounces of it. This is our live organism that's going to allow the dough to bubble up and grow. Perfect. Now that we have all of our ingredients, let's start mixing dough. First, I'm going to make sure the bowl is clean. Sometimes a little debris ends up in there from the last time it was cleaned out. Now we're ready to add everything. I'm going to start with the flour. Careful not to just completely drop it and end up in a plume of flour smoke. That ice and water mixture that came to a total of 11.5 pounds. Our salt. Our 1 pound of oil. Remember, oil is less dense than water, so it's going to be more than 2 cups. Last thing is 1 old dough ball. This dough ball has been fermenting for about 3 days now and will help feed that sourdough flavor and allow the new batch of dough to ferment a little bit quicker. Safety mechanism, you must have that gate closed. Now we're ready to start mixing. First, power. Switch that over. Then we're going to turn this to speed number 1. That's the slower of the two. and then turn the timer over to 5 minutes. And power on. We're good to go. All right, that 5 minutes is up. We are going to turn the knob now to second speed, and I'm going to go for about 7 minutes on second speed. So we're getting about a total of 12, and we'll see where we're at. All right, the last round of 2 minutes is over. And as you can see, we still have a little bit of ice, still not melted, and it's not quite smooth. So we're just gonna add a few more minutes until that ice fully melts and it becomes a nice smooth dough. All right, as you can see, there's no more ice around. It comes off the edges nice and easily. When I do that, kind of smooths out, not too sticky, got a nice squish. We're ready to pull out. Break it into smaller pieces. Got a nice clean work table over here. We're good to go. The tools you're going to need to do this is our digital scale, either a serrated knife or a bench knife, small plastic wrap, and I'll need 3 of these bins for the dough. Start by zeroing out the scale. It should read 0. And whether you like the serrated or the bench knife, you're just going to go through and cut. It's all for personal preference. I prefer the serrated. I'm going to cut off a hunk, a chunk, a hunk of chunk, whichever you want to call it. Kind of roll it out so that it's somewhat uniform. It'll make measuring easier. We are going for 9-ounce pieces. That's a little on the heavy side. Cut some off. 9.1. A general good rule of thumb is 0.1 under to 0.2 over. So 8.9, 9.2, you'll be okay. Put that off to the side. Pieces of dough that are all weighed out at 9 ounces. Now the balling. From here we're going to kind of push in from the backside up, kind of push that up and around, and then pinch that bottom part closed. And keep twisting it until it's smooth. If we want, roll it around a little bit on the table just to give it a little more shape. So again, we're taking, whether you go in this way or in this way, kind of cupping it around, pinching that end so it's nice and close and tight. And it should almost kind of glue itself together until there's no more seal. Nice tight round dough ball. From there, move over to the wrapping station. Pull out a small amount, put our shaped dough ball in the middle, plastic over, and I like to roll that around Tuck both sides in. And we're going to place it in our dough box. Just keep that going. If you have other people here to help you, one person can be cutting and weighing the dough. The next person can be rolling and shaping the dough balls. And then a third person can be wrapping and putting them in the trays. First tray of dough done. The most efficient way is to do 6 by 4. You can fit more in here. However, in the picture shown later, you'll see what happens as these grow and expand. If there's too much dough in here, they start to collide with each other, and they will make whatever shape they possibly can to fit in there, making it lose its round shape. But doing 6 by 4 or less will allow plenty of room so that as these expand, they won't lose their shape. The last thing I'm going to do, put a piece of tape and mark today's date with a 19, and that way we know which order to use for first in, first out. Last thing with the dough, we're going to portion a few 6-ounce portions. Those are going to be set aside for our hoagie rolls. The portion will be 6 ounces, but the way you roll it and wrap it will be the exact same. And we will take a Sharpie marker once it is wrapped and label the top with the date, because we're not going to be using a full tray, it's just going to be a small amount. We try to keep about a par of 12 of these 6-ounce dough balls on hand at all times. Now that we portion our dough, we're ready to put it away in the cooler. I'm going to start with those 6-ounce. We'll move the older ones to the front. And our newer ones towards the back. And we have 12 on hand. Now we have the rest of our dough. Lift and move. Placing our new batch on the bottom. Have in order, because of the labels we know, back in order so that the oldest gets used first.